Going Through the Fires of Life with Jesus by Pastor Robert McKim. Chapter 14. Did Y2K come with a virus for computers or for the human heart? A while back one evening, our friend Dorothy was visiting. She and I were in the kitchen watching Star Trek on TV, while my wife was in the living room watching something on TV. Dorothy put her hand on my leg and started to move her hand up to my crotch. I stood up and said that I only liked her as a friend, and nothing else, and that I was married. She got mad and left. One other day while my wife was at work, Dorothy had stopped by to see if she was home. I told her that she was not home, and I didn't know when she would be home. Our sons were upstairs playing with their cousin. My sister-in-law was driving by and saw the friend's van parked in the driveway. She called to say that it didn't look right with her there, and my wife not there. I told her that I was trying to get rid of her, and that she was looking for my wife. She was sitting in the living room as I was washing dishes. I would walk into the living room, talk to her from time to time, and I was also checking on the kids. She asked me a question that floored me. She asked me if my wife and I had ever been in a three-way sexual relation with someone before. I told her that we have not, and nothing like that will ever happen because I am loved and my wife, and that the marriage bed is honorable before God. She told me that she had been in 3 of them, 2 with her own sister and her sister's boyfriend she had at the time, and another one with someone else that I knew. I asked her if my wife had talked to her and put her up to that. She said no and just left. I asked my wife when she got home if she had told anything to Dorothy about wanting a 3-way. She said no, and she left. In June of 1999, I was interviewed by the Times reporter for an article about me and the radio patrol. Here's the article. In May of 2000, my wife's only sister passed away of an overdose that she took because she was not saved and was living with a man who would beat her and treat her very badly. He was into growing and selling cannabis, also known as marijuana. My wife stopped going to church with me after her sister passes away and told our sons that they didn't have to go to church either if they didn't want to. Then my wife and I was having problems with children's services, the court system, school system, Newcomerstown police, and the mayor. The New Philadelphia VFW Post 1445 gave me and the Radio Patrol a Community Service Award for 1999 to 2000. The year 2000 started out good, but then it all started to go wrong in April of 2000, when we had a lot of things around the house, from scrapping and remodeling the house. We were giving a warning about cleaning up the yard around the house. I had cleaned all day and almost all evening on the day of May 2nd of 2000 and set everything in front of the house so that the street department could come and pick it up during the cleanup week. They came on Monday the 3rd and got everything. Then on May 4th, our little nephew was burnt real bad with hot coffee and was flown to Akron Children's Hospital, and the family was all worried about him. The only thing that was left in the yard was firewood and a bathtub that I could not move by myself. Later that day, Aunt Thelma go to work. The police stops to ask if she was home. I told them that she had just left for work. They went out to where she works to give her a ticket for having trash, rubbish, and garbage on the property. I took photos around the house and needed the money to take the film to Walmart the next day to get them developed. I asked Aunt Thelma and my wife if they had any money for the film, but they said they didn't have the money. I called my parents and asked if they had any money, They told me to call back the next morning before I go to work to drive school bus to get the money. I called my parents at 5 a.m. the morning of May 5th before I was to go to work. My parents didn't answer their phone, so I was mad, and I said on their answer machine that I was going to get the gun and kill the mayor. I never said a name, just mayor. My thinking was that they would answer the phone and tell me they had some money to help me, but that never happened. As I was getting ready to leave for work, I heard over my police scanner that my parents had called the police on me instead. I called my parents back and said again on their answer machine that if they think I was serious, then they really don't know me. I went to work, and when I got there, the police was waiting on me. The police have made a mountain out of a molehill again. They took me to court and charged me for menacing and sentenced me to 6 months in jail. As I was in the county jail, my wife told me to call an attorney. He got me out after 16 days, got the charge was changed and reduced to a misdemeanor. I just got time served and court cost. These photos were taken at different times when the house was being remodeled and after. My wife was into scrapping to get extra money to buy things she needed. My son also was into using wood to have cookouts in the grill. But the village of Newcomerstown and the police didn't like her or my son doing this. I thought it was a free country. Even though this is a free country and you have the freedom of speech, I learned that anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, even if you said it to someone else and don't mean to do what you said. As the mayor said, he was elected by the people to uphold the law. And when council tells me they have property to clean up, it falls on me to do my job. And I will continue to do my job. Mayor Carr and a council member, Mitch Wise, was fighting over how tall the council member's mother's house grass was in her yard, and it started a big crackdown on everyone in Newcomerstown, Ohio. Another thing is that I feel that since the council member was attending the Assembly of God church that I was also attending, the mayor sent the police to harass us as well. I also feel that the reason no one has the freedom of speech is that all of this came about after the Columbine High School shootings and the zero tolerance policy that many police and schools have made in order to have more control over the people. I have always believed and will believe that my God, Jehovah, is slow to anger, but he is a vengeful God. I also believe that Christians are to fight for what is right and to fight against injustice. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12. How can a Christian fight a police officer who hates them for what they are doing to help other people? How does a Christian fight a mayor or a system that would say one thing to your face, then another behind your back, and has turned against you in order to push their agenda of their new world order? I was fighting for my family, my rights as a citizen to speak my mind, and my right as a Christian to help people in a career that God has called me to do. It is not the job of the police to cause problems, but in my case, this one police officer didn't like me because of my radio patrol organization. He thought that no citizen has the right to go to an accident to help with traffic control, or to monitor CB Channel 9 of the Citizens Band radio. Notice it says Citizens Band, not Authority Band radio. Another thing is that it was an organization called REACT that started to monitor the CB to help people broke down and who lobbied the FCC to make Channel 9 as the emergency channel. Not the police. Not the police or any government office. It was the people. What happened was that night after Aunt Thelma got home from work, she was yelling at me and blaming me for sending the police to her place of work. I told her that Tim Miller wanted to know where she was. I told him, and that's when he told me he had a ticket to give to her. I called her at work to warn her. I also called my wife and told her. I then got my camera and went outside to take photos of the house and around the yard of the firewood and the bathtub that was still in the yard to take and show the mayor and or the judge. I was hoping that with my medical problems with my back and limitations to lifting things that they would understand. I asked Aunt Thelma that night if she had any money so I could get the photos developed at Walmart. She said that the money she had was so she could go to play bingo. I asked my wife. She also said that she didn't have the money. I called my parents, and my mom told me to call them in the morning before I go to work, and they would give me the money then. I told her that I had to get up at 5 a.m. because I had to drive a school bus, and I had to be at the bus by 6 a.m. to get it started. My mother told me that they should be awake. I called and I got the answering machine, and it made me mad because they promised me that they would help me. I then said on my parents' answering machine to scare them to answer the phone that I was going to get the gun and kill the mayor. They called the police instead, and I called back when the police was there and said that if they believed that they were nuts and really didn't know me. I said that I had to go to work and I would talk to them when I got back home. When I got up to New Philadelphia, Ohio, the police was waiting on me. They took me to the New Philadelphia, Ohio police station, and my cousin, the one from earlier on in my book, that was driving the van from Florida back to Ohio, came to get me. When I got back to the police station, I never said anything. He kept telling me that they can't help me if I didn't talk. The police would rather help make someone look bad than to help to make them look good and keep them good. I lost all my school bus driving jobs over all this because they thought I had a felony and that I was not a good person to be around children. This is not the real me at all. I tried to tell them that the felony was dropped, and all I had was a misdemeanor. People would rather believe what is on the front page of the newspaper than the gospel truth. I not only lost all my jobs, I also lost the trust of my wife. I guess when a man fights for what he believes in, and fights for his family in this new world, he has no hope because it's not what he wants or believes in, but it is what the system wants him to say or believe in. If a man doesn't give in, then he is a maniac to society in their eyes. The sad thing is that people have a short memory, or they don't care of all the good you do and have done to better the world and to save lives. They would rather remember the one bad thing you did, and they will never forget. A few days later, after I got out of jail, my wife's sister passed away on May 18th, 2000. After that, my wife was becoming distant from me, staying out all night with other people on the weekends. She would even stay away during the week. When she did come home, she didn't want to sleep with me much. I asked the members of the Newcomers Town Assembly of God Church if they would help me and talk to her. All they said to me was, "You can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do." I left the church shortly after that because I felt that they really didn't care about her or my marriage and to try to save someone before they became lost. I started attending another Pentecostal church because I was friends with the pastor and his family, and when I had asked the elders of the Newcomers Town Victory Assembly of God to help my wife, they said they couldn't. I was allowed to sing and help to do some preaching also in the new church. It was a small storefront church on Main Street in Newcomers Town. I also was friends with Doug Snyder, who owned a tire shop and was a minister evangelist. I got him to come to the church to speak. He brought a pastor from Africa. Brother Doug, Reverend Robert McKim Sr., Pastor Benny Cutlip, and Brother Peter. Then in December of 2000, our youngest son hit a girl in the eye because she wanted to fight him because he didn't want to date her. Her parents filed a report with the police, and the officer filed the report with the court. I was also working with a rehabilitation specialist to test both our sons for ADD. The specialist said that our oldest son has ADHD and our youngest son has ADD. The doctor put him on medication to help him with his ADD. The school system knew he has ADD because they had to give some medication at noon for his ADD. But they kept saying he didn't have it and was just saying that he was a bad child. The school system was saying that our youngest son had to be as good as he can be because the court said he was put on restrictions. He was doing better in school, except getting wrote up in class for doing things such as leaning back in his chair, throwing paper airplanes, and just not paying attention. The school system again filed charges on our oldest son, and he had to go to court. But the weekend before he had to go to court, our nephew came to stay the night, and they wanted to camp outside. I let them so that I could spend a good night with my wife. But after getting to bed, I heard what sounded like a gunshot. I went to check on the boys, and they were going back out with an empty pop bottle, toilet cleaner, and aluminum foil. I told them to stop whatever they were doing and told them to get in the house to go to bed. I called my father-in-law, and he had came and got our nephew the next day when I found out what they were doing. I learned it from my mother-in-law when she told me that by taking those things, you can make a pop bottle bomb. I never knew that because I have always been a good child, going to church and studying my Bible and studying to be a preacher. Preachers don't use pop bottle bombs. The sad thing is that my cousin Brian Hursley was the Newcomers Town police chief, and he didn't care to do the right thing. Then again, he didn't when he took some of our dogs out in the country to drop them off. I have had 2 handheld police scanners stolen out of my cars, and someone once threw a whiskey bottle through our front door window when we were buying the house on South College Street in Newcomers Town. I called the police each time, and Brian came to investigate or to take the report. The next day I followed footprints in the snow from our house over to a house on the next street, over to where a car was parked. Why didn't he look for them like I did to ask whose car was parked there? I believe that my cousin didn't like me, and he just didn't care to help me like some other officers did. He doesn't even speak to the family anymore. After I sent my nephew home and my oldest son was staying with my parents, the next day, on a Monday, the police comes to ask me questions because they got a phone call that both my sons was going to make a bunch of the pop bottle bombs to take to school and blow up the school. They even put the school on lockdown over a phone call that was not true to begin with. Why would they even make a mountain out of a molehill? I told them that my oldest son was not even involved because he was not home, and it was my nephew that made them and showed my youngest son how to make them. All they said that they were going to do was to get a hold of attorney about this. Our youngest son had court on a Tuesday, and our oldest son was staying with my mother-in-law. When we got to the courthouse, we tried to talk to our son's attorney to tell him what happened. He was running around the courthouse like a chicken with his head cut off. When we were able to talk to him, all he said was that they would not bring any of the pop bottle bombs up in court. When it was our time in court, there was not only the Newcomers Town School there, but there were also people from Child Services. They brought up about him missing days of school, acting up in school, and the pop bottle bomb, and made it sound as though that I was the one who taught him how to make them. This is how the court, school, and the police systems are now. They would rather make up something than tell the truth. I told the judge that I never even knew how to make a bottle bomb, and I never heard of them till that night because I am a minister, and I am about preaching and teaching people about God and Jesus. The judge said that she was going to put our sons under protective supervision, and my wife started to cry and yell at the judge that she can't take her babies from her. The judge didn't know what to do by what happened, and I was sitting there to think what to do next. The judge got upset and told us to go out and wait till she decide what she is going to do about all this. After what seemed like forever, we were called back in the courtroom. I told the judge that my wife didn't understand what she was trying to do the first time, and when she gets upset, she lets her emotions fly. The judge didn't see things my way and decided to put our sons under custody of Child Protective Services. I had to go back to get our oldest son and take him up to the welfare office. My wife was blaming me for all that was happening. We were working with Child Protective Services to get our sons back. We got them back after a month, but my marriage didn't last too long after that. One day my wife received a phone call, and she said that it was our attorney telling her that if I didn't leave the home, we would lose our sons forever. I was asking her who was on the phone, but all she would do was to keep moving away from me. I left that evening because I didn't want our sons taken away again. I left and was staying with some friends, and I went to church on Sunday and told them what had happened. They helped me out and put me up at a local hotel for 2 nights. I called the Child Protective Services worker the next day to ask if she had told our attorney that she wanted me to move out. She said that she don't tell any husband to move out. It still makes me wonder to this day who was really on the phone. I was living in between my parents and a friend's place while I was working with the Ohio Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation Services, and they put me in with goodwill to work. I was also staying with my friend at night to help with transportation and other things they needed because her daughter, a cousin on my mom's side of the family, was pregnant. I received a phone call from the Tuscarawas County Jobs and Family Services to go and get my food stamp card. When I got there, people were listening to the radio outside, and they said something about bombing and we were at war. When I went in to get my food stamp card, the lady told me what was going on. After I got my card, I went to Goodwill where I was working when September 11th, 2001 shook our nation. I put my application in for some apartments. I was told by Oxford Square Apartments that I had a felony. I tried to tell them that I didn't, but they said that they can refuse to rent to someone who has a misdemeanor. This was not right. I was living between my parents' place and in my van I bought. My wife took me to court a few times, and said that I was saying inappropriate things to our sons, and was made to visit my sons at the Personal and Family Counseling Center for supervised visitation. My wife also once told the court that she was afraid of me because of my private security training. She told the court that she was afraid that I would get a gun and hurt her. I was more afraid of her because she has hit me in the past, and I know she wanted to hurt me then. She wanted people to think that she was the best person on the face of the earth, and I was the worst for being a Christian. I went through all that the court had wanted me to do, and they were going to let the supervised visitations take place at my parents' house. But as we were just taking, and I told the caseworker why I didn't trust them, and how they say one thing, then another, the other caseworker that was with her got mad and left, saying that I was not going to get the supervised visitation there. I got all that on tape because I hid a tape recorder in the house and taped everything that was said. My mom was all worked up and had heart problems and had to go to the hospital after that. I went to the Personal and Family Counseling Center to see a counselor to talk to him about all that has been happening. And when I told him I was a Christian minister and I believed in God, he said that is what my problem was. He didn't believe in God, and I didn't go back to him. I found another counselor who was a Christian at the community mental health. Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, stand around with sinners, or join in with mockers. Psalm 1:1. While I was living in between my parents' place and my friend's place, my dad was not happy that I had a life outside of living with them. One day my sons wanted me to take them someplace, and my dad got mad and said that their mom should take them because it's not my place to do that. I told my dad that they were my sons and I have the right to do things with them. I also have the right to have friends and to help people. One day my parents got Nelson Miller, who was a Mennonite pastor friend, to come to their place to talk to me. He told me that it is my place is to be with my parents and to help them because that is what it says in the Bible and that is what God wants. He told me that I am a slave of my parents because that is what the Bible says. I told him that I am an ordained minister, and we are not under the old law anymore, and that we are under grace. I told him that my parents were mad that I was taking my own sons places they wanted to go, and I was helping a cousin ex-wife and her boyfriend out. Again, he tried to stress his belief that my place was to stay at home with my parents. He told me that my belief was wrong and the Universal Life Church was a fraud. I left because I was not going to listen to his false teachings. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate. Psalm 127, 3-5. Then one evening, when I went to pick up my friend to take her to work, she was in the bathroom getting ready. She came down from the bathroom just in her bathrobe. She was going on talking about how she was not being loved by the man she was with because he was more like a child and his temper was hurting her in their relationship. She said that he was cheating on her and told me that she was under lots of stress, and she knew that since I worked as a home health aide that I knew how to give a good massage because my wife had told her once. She asked me if I could give her a good massage and maybe we could make love. Now, being a man, and it was over a year since I haven't been with my soon-to-be ex-wife for over a year, I was scared, but my hormones took over. She took me by the hand, and we went to her bedroom, where she lay on her belly and took off her robe. I gave her a massage, and when I was done with the backside, she rolled over and asked me if I would watch her masturbate. My hormones were going wild at this point, and I was in shock when she asked me to do it also with her. I did, and when we finished, she got ready for work. She had me give her many other massages, and it went into more masturbation sessions, till one evening when she asked me to make love to her. Being lonely and thinking that she was falling in love with me, I made love to her. I made love to her on other occasions, till one day we were almost caught by someone. One day I went to her place to be with her, and there was a car of a young man that she worked with parked next to her house. I tried to open the door, and it was locked. I knocked, and no one answered. I left and went back later. This time the door was unlocked, and I went in. They were sitting at the kitchen table talking. I asked them why the door was locked earlier. She said that he was being followed and was scared, so they locked the door and hid. I was thinking to myself that she is a good liar because she has been lying to me and her boyfriend. There was times that I was also see if I could get back with my soon-to-be ex-wife, but she was not wanting me back because she said I had a big mouth and I kept telling our sons about our money problems. I would tell her that I didn't have the money to buy them everything they wanted. She would tell me that she didn't care. She would give them what they wanted, even if she didn't have the money to pay her bills. This is not how I roll. I pay my bills and live on what is left over, and I don't buy what I don't need. But when you have to buy some things to help save the life and property of other people, even if it is a volunteer job, then you need to get that with the money that is left over. This is being a good steward of what God has given me. Titus 1:7-9. English Standard Version. For an overseer, as God's steward, must be above reproach. He must not be arrogant or quick-tempered, or a drunkard, or violent or greedy for gain, but hospitable, a lover of good, self-controlled, upright, holy, and disciplined. He must hold firm to the trustworthy word as taught, so that he may be able to give instruction in sound doctrine, and also to rebuke those who contradict it.